Video is about using BreakOSC with Bidule. Now you don't need Bidule to use BreakOSC. You could also use Pure Data, Max MSP, Osculator, or just about any software on your Mac or PC that uses OSC messaging. A couple housekeeping things. In order to get started with Bidule, you'll need to go in your Tools menu. Let me just move that out of the way. So under your Tools menu, you'll have OSC Server. You'll need that. You'll need to click on Enable, and you'll need to make a note of the port number. Now, your device, your PC, your Mac, and your iPhone or iPod needs to be on the same server as your. Well, they need all to be on the same server. Now, you also need to take note of your IP address. So here it is. So port number, IP address, you need those. And if we open up BreakOSC on the iPod here, you can see that I've entered both those numbers, the port number and the host IP. Now, and we'll use those in a second. Now, what happens when messages are sent to Bidule, if they're sent to the right IP address with the right port number, messages will be sent, and you can see those happening there on the top window. A bunch of messages are being sent. Okay, so I'll just close this here for a second. Now, in order to use those messages, you need to map those incoming messages to something in Bidule. What I've done is I've built this default group here that you'll be able to download from my website, and this uses all the default messages in BreakOSC. So if you change the messages, this won't work anymore. But for instance, if I start up the game and you take a look at the paddle, where's my paddle? Here it is. So this paddle number, when I move the paddle left to right, it moves left to right. And if you take a look just about, there's ball X, and right next to it, ball Y. So if I release the ball, there you go, it's moving. It's tracking the ball movement. So this is the idea behind BreakOSC. Every time you do something in the game, the ball hits it hits a brick, it hits the paddle, it hits a wall, it moves across the screen. Messages are being sent to BreakOSC, from BreakOSC to your software, and these sliders here can control different aspects of your musical performance, just as you would do with faders and rotary dials. Instead of using that, you use just a game. You play the game, and the faders are being moved. Of course, a lot of users a lot of the beta testers have talked to me about using this to trigger notes. Which you can do, because right now you're just tracking a number between 0 and 1. So when the ball moves on the x-axis, it sends a value between 0 and 1, proportionate to where it is on the screen. Same thing for the x value, and likewise the paddle, and likewise the brick. So if you hit a red brick, it's going to send you an x and a y corresponding to the position of the ball on the screen. So what you can do is use a trigger. So in this group, I've built it so that this output here is a value for the green brick X, and this is the trigger. So every time the value changes, it sends a trigger. And I've built this group that sends out a MIDI note number and a note length based on the value. So if it's 5, if it's 0.5, that is, it's going to be the middle value, and if it's 1, it's going to be the very last value. If it's 0, it's going to be the first value, and you can put as many values as you want. It's just going to use the value as a random number generator, and you'll be able to use that to pick a note from this list. Now, to implement that, it's not too tricky. I'll put that on the website as well, so that people can just use it. So it's using the trigger to trigger the note, and it's also using the trigger to generate a gate based on the note length that's in the parameters of this group. And you can also it also uses this index list of MIDI numbers, and it's picking it based on the value. So if there's two values, well, it's gonna everything below 0.5 is going to be the first value, and if everything above 0.5 is going to pick the second value. So this is just a it's a pretty easy way of dealing with this MIDI note selection, and you can then transpose them as you want and so on. So what I've done is I've created this patch here, which I'll make available, I guess, although it uses software that I bought, so it's not going to work for you unless you have this software. So maybe I'll just upload it with a generic instrument that comes with Bidule. So this is Isotope Cyrus. It's a wonderful software. Everyone should buy it. It's just great. And I have 4 instances of it running. These two here being triggered by green and blue bricks. And what I've done is I've put different patches in this synthesizer, and there's a crossfader here, and depending where the paddle is on the screen, it acts as my crossfader between these two groups of instruments, and everything is being sent to a generous amount of reverb and then being written out to file. So I think without further ado, I'm gonna play with this a bit, and I'm gonna record it to file, and we'll see what happens.